Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Let's Talk with me, Joe Emilio, and as always, a guest on my show, and you can already see him to my right, the one, the only Mr. Renaldo Gouws. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yeah, but what an introduction. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, well, being a comedian, I'm used to the whole MC kind of like, make a big hype. And I was going to give you like this whole introduction, that you're very far right KKK
Oh yeah.
leader, that you are.
Yeah, pretty much just the usual, right? Nothing new.
Oh, man. So, yeah, things have been quite interesting for you, Ronaldo Haas. But for those who may not know who you are, please briefly just explain what you do.
Okay, so my day job is I'm a counselor. I'm a ward counselor more specifically, which means that I am the elected official between the municipality and the residents of Nelson Mandela Bay for a specific geographical area in Nelson Mandela Bay. So if you've got an issue with the municipality, if you've got an issue with your rates and taxes or water running down the street or anything like that, then I'm the person that you'll deal with to represent you. And I don't just represent the DA people, I represent everybody in the ward. So ANC, EFF, DA, like people that didn't vote, I represent, and I'm the ward councillor for that area. So politically, that is what I do. I'm also an industrial psychologist. So I do recruitment and selection training and development, compensation management. I work with some companies overseas in which I do the human resource aspect for them. Don't confuse me with human resources because I pretty much give guidance to the HR department,
Okay.
right? So I'm an independent contractor pretty much. And then my hobby is a YouTube. And I'm a YouTuber that talks about politics in South Africa. That is in a nutshell what I do.
Well, that's the thing. We're going to get more into what you do because I think there's a very big misconception about you being or working for the DA. But before I do, I just want to say, Ronaldo, you've got a lot of your usual suspects in the chats. There's Willem Vandervolt. I'm sure you recognize that name.
Yeah.
Liberator, the Master Instigator is also here. Beth Symes. Thank you all so much, Mel S. You probably know Brazo S Planet Q. Thank you all so much for tuning in and watching us. Don't be shy to ask us any questions. We would like to hear any opinions or questions. We'll take them as we go along. And it seems like the people that don't like Ronaldo have already disliked this video.
That's one dislike. That's not bad. That's not too bad.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll
It's
be more soon, like as soon as they get the notification.
yeah, well, that's yeah. Your trolls, man. You must feel so famous to have such dedicated trolls, Ronaldo.
And people, like I understand when people like stuff and they watch it because it's like it relates to them. But like, so it doesn't take a lot of motivation to watch something that you enjoy. As an example, if you really love Ozark, you don't need a lot of convincing to go and watch another episode of Ozark, right? But let's say you hated Ozark. Imagine how much motivation you need in order to go and put yourself down in front of the TV, go and select Ozark, and then watch it and then scream at the TV saying, I hate Ozark. Like, who is really like the idiot here? Is it Ozark? Or is it you that decides to tune in and watch people that you don't like? And listen, it's vastly different than being on social media. Let's say, like YouTube, you have to go and click and play and watch
Hmm.
something, right? On Facebook, it is what comes across your screen and you can immediately interact. You don't have to go and press play. You don't have to go and set a reminder. So
Hmm.
Twitter and Facebook and Instagram even is different because that gets fed to you. Where it's different. So the reason I talk out against Malema is because it'll pop up on my feed and then I'll just give a comment. It's not like I'm sitting there going, I hate you, and I'm going to talk on everything you say. It's
Yeah.
literally just, oh, here it is. So let me give an opinion.
Yeah, it's always amazing to me when I watch your live streams how there's people in the chats that just want to cause cock, like they just want to. It's almost like they want to be the center of attention. It reminds me a lot of heckling as a comedian. Like
I
those.
just wanted to say that.
Yeah, like
I just wanted to say that. But
like
the irony is the people that heckle are more than like, it's usually people that just want attention,
mm,
but they do enjoy the comedian if they paid to be there, right? Now imagine if somebody
not
paid
all
for a
the time.
ticket to come and watch you and they dislike you. I
Yeah.
mean, that is like you need to like look inwards and go, where the fuck is my priorities? Like if I paid a ticket to go and watch somebody and then heckle them, like that is insane.
Some people do that. Some people actually do that.
Well, then they've got no lives, dude. Then they've got no lives. Then there's something wrong with them. Seriously.
Why do you think I haven't done a live stream show? I'm so worried that I'm just gonna be heartbroken with all the comments that come through because people on live streams, like if I don't know if you've ever watched a live show of stand-up comedy on Instagram Live. There's a lot of those going around. The people in those comments, man, they say some hurtful things. Like they will outright say, like, "Dude, you're not funny," and like and then you
Yeah, but
read it
you
and you're
see,
like,
this is also this is what social media has created. Media has created this monster of where everybody thinks because they've got a profile, this makes them a reporter, this
yeah,
makes them a critic, and this makes them an expert on a specific field.
yeah,
Whereas, and there's also no, because what happens in groups is that you tend to like not speak out too much because you don't want resistance from the group.
yeah,
But when you're on social media, it's independent.
yeah,
So when you get a criticism, it's not like you are being embarrassed. It's like, oh, it's one person with an opinion. But imagine you are like at a live show and you heckle something or you say something and people look back at you and boo you. You can't get that on social media. You
that's true.
can't get people booing you and saying shut up. Or you get it in the comments, but it doesn't have the same effect. It's not like that instant pressure on you because not everybody's reacting at the same time.
True, but when you read it, you know how sometimes you read stuff and you have an accent in your mind or you have a tone in your mind. So when I
Yeah.
read boo, I'm imagining this really old, for some reason, this really old man who looks a bit like Steven Spielberg going boo. That's how I read it.
In my head, I see somebody that looks like Bernie Saunders that goes like, "Bo, bo,
See,
man."
we see
So that's the difference.
it's a
But
perception
here's the
thing.
thing. Here's the thing, dude. It's always like, at the moment, because I've got like 82,000 like subscribers on
Well
YouTube.
done, by the way.
No, but yeah, thanks, dude. But it's not about that. The thing is that tells me because when I started like on YouTube, there were obviously a lot of people with opinions saying, "Oh, look at this attention whore," look at this and look at that,
Mm,
and you get people that are jealous. And I say this with all respect. I understand that I'm not everybody's cup of tea.
mm.
I understand that I might have an attitude and a personality that doesn't resonate with people, and that's fine. I take that criticism, but you get so many jealous people that don't want anybody else or feel competition is so rife, especially in comedy.
Mm.
People will say hurtful things, not because you aren't funny, but because you are actually funny and you are a risk to either them or their livelihood.
Mm.
That's what it is. And it was the same on YouTube because for a long time there was this mentality that there's only a limited amount of people in South Africa that can do YouTube and be successful. And that is such bullshit because YouTube, you can have 100 people that are successful or 1,000 people in South Africa, and it doesn't take away from anybody else.
Yeah,
It doesn't remove gigs from that person.
yeah.
So in your field, it's like competition.
But you know what? It's kind of actually, it's. I think comedians have this false mentality, to be honest with you, because much like you just said, YouTube, like there's basically, let's say, for argument's sake, 2 million people, 3 million people on a daily basis that watch YouTube in South Africa, just for argument's sake. That
Mm.
say, and therefore, like you now having 80,000 subscribers is actually like quite small in that big pool, right?
Yeah.
So there's enough pie for everybody, so to speak. And it's the same with comedy. Like, yes, there's competition and people do get jealous and people are like, oh, but if you do this show and I'm doing my show, then you're going to have my people. We live in the Western Cape. There's like how many? 6 million odd people in the
Mm.
Western Cape. You want to tell me that you can't fill up your venue with 50 people and there's 60 million people. There's more than
Yeah.
or 6 million people. There's more than enough for the pie, dude. Like, and that's the mentality I think a lot of comedians need to get out of. That like, oh, it's mine, my territory, my comedy, my this, my that. And it's actually hurts the comedy industry more than anything else when we don't support one another and stuff like that. I mean, that's why I'm still interviewing comedians and stuff like that on this channel, because I want to give them a platform where they're still people are still reminded by them. Like my channel's grown, not immensely, but it's grown, and I like to think that every time I get a new subscriber, that's someone that's gonna meet a new comedian. And
Yeah.
maybe when this is all over, hopefully soon, and comedians are doing a show, someone will be like, oh, I remember that guy. He was on Joe's channel. I'm gonna go check him out. That's
Mm.
what I'm hoping for. I'm not. I don't.
But here's the thing though. So like look, the only reason subscriber numbers are important to me is because I want that fucking silver play button clap, so that YouTube can actually give me something other than that fucking fuck pillow that they gave me, that I paid two and a
But
half to
it's
three
so
thousand
cute,
rand for when I flew
Ronaldo.
to Johannesburg, right? So that's the only reason a subscriber number is important to me. Let me give you context. So I've got 82,000 subscribers. When I do a live stream, I get between 250 to 450 people that watch me live,
Yeah,
right? Your channel is like growing and you've got like close to 600 subscribers, right?
yeah,
If you have like, here's the thing. On one live stream I had 25,000 people once. It's you can't manage that, and
yeah,
I don't like that because it takes away
yeah,
from the personal touch, right?
yeah,
I would every day of the week rather have 100 or 50 people or 200 people that I can interact with than, let's say, 3 or 4 thousand people, because then it becomes unmanageable.
yeah.
And those people, those 2 to 4 to 2, 3, 400 people that tune in, want to tune in, they want to interact with you, and that is far more valuable
Mm,
than just throwing a number out there like 82, 85, 100, 200, 300,000 people.
mm.
So yeah, I mean, don't let like the numbers means nothing in the greater scheme of things, because what you could also do is you can go and pay an Indian bot company to add 5,000 subscribers to your numbers. And what does it literally mean? What does it mean? It means
Nothing.
nothing.
Yeah, exactly. But for you, it means that silver play button.
Yeah. So maybe what I need to do is for 10,000, just get like these Indian bot companies to like just push me over. But
Yeah.
then with my luck, YouTube will go, oh no, your entire account is just bots. So I'll be screwed like that. So yeah,
What is the
I'll wait a couple of years and just get the 100,000.
what is the beef with you and YouTube? I mean, are you still shadow banned?
No, not anymore.
Okay.
After I literally had to send about 8 emails to the creator studio guys and pretty much tell them how their website works. Because, the most basic thing is, for instance, let's say I'm on your live stream and I give a comment, right?
Mm,
If the comment doesn't come up on your channel and you haven't like limited me or blocked me, then it's quite obvious that I'm being shadow banned, right?
yes.
And I explain this to them, and when I do, they say, "But are you sure that the creator did not block you?" And I'm like, "Well, firstly, if I was blocked and said no, he didn't do it." So I had to get one of my friends who does live streaming to make a video, and we interacted while I was commenting and recording the video. And it was literally like treating them with kid gloves, saying, "This is the problem. There it is. Can you now see it?" And eventually they've resolved it.
Oh
So,
my
and
word.
as soon as they did that, the numbers went up again. So then I'm averaging, well, obviously not like over the weekend, but during the week it's like 300, 400 people,
Mm,
which it was. And I can give a super chat and give all of those things,
mm,
and I can leave a comment without being like banned,
mm,
or without being shadow banned.
yeah. Jeez, man, that reminds me of this one YouTuber as well. That was he's a bit of a conspiracy theorist, so maybe your wife would enjoy him. Tell her about young Pharaoh. Ask her if she's ever watched Young Pharaoh. And he did this whole 3 hour conspiracy theory thing, like immense detail. Like, oh my word, he
Mm.
had like a presentation. Very entertaining dude. Like he's quite. He says very colorful things, if I can put it that way. But he's very into like, and then
Yeah.
very entertaining. And it was a 3 hour thing, and then it got to 1.7 million views, right? And YouTube took it down. And the reason why they took it down was for harassment and bullying. two things he didn't even speak of at all
Yeah.
during that thing. And then he still messages them, right? He gets them on a live chat. He's like, "Hey, why'd you take it down?" Blah blah blah. And then this bot, it's clearly a bot that they've got on this live chat saying like,
Yeah.
"Oh no, on our side we don't see that or whatever, and send us this and send us that." And he also had to send like a video and an email. And then once everything was done, they just ignored him. I think the video is still
Yeah. I
gone.
mean, well, that's what happened because I mean, eventually after a week, they didn't get back to me, so I had to email them and say, "Listen, guys, I'm not being funny. Like, I don't care about like not being able to comment, but I can't even give super chats to people and say hello or job well done, you know." And
Yeah.
that pisses me off because I get a lot of support from people watching my streams, and I like to give back, you know. And the fact that I can't even do that is what pissed me off. But I mean, it stems a lot because I've been on YouTube for 12 years, so I joined YouTube I think 2 years after they started. And
Nice.
YouTube back then was supposed to be like taking the piss out of each other. So they were, I mean, what was that? Chris Crocker that did that Leave Britney Alone. I don't know if you ever seen that video, but it's this young
I'm gonna
kid
go now.
that was screaming, Leave Britney alone, because that was when people were going after
Yes.
Britney Spears.
Yes, I remember that.
So I made videos like as Grim Rendied, like because I used to be called Rendied because back in the day you didn't have your real name on YouTube. You had like a nickname.
Yes.
Everybody knew who you were, but you had a nickname,
Mm.
right? But then I had the second account that was called Grim Rendied, and the whole premise of it was to joke and like making like a mockery of these YouTube stars that, and it's not harassment or bullying. It's just like it's satire.
Mm.
That's what it is. I don't say kill yourself. I don't do any of those type of
Yeah.
things. And then that is when YouTube started pivoting. And that's when, you know, Google started looking at, hey, YouTube looks
Mm.
profitable. Why don't we? And then it completely shifted from that. And that was long before the ad apocalypse that PewDiePie and all
Mm.
of these guys caused with like the big companies saying we don't want to advertise anymore.
Mm.
But the game has truly changed with YouTube allowing memberships and allowing super chats because that pretty much now takes away most of the power that these ad agencies have
That's true.
over content creators,
Yeah.
which is a massive change. So
That's
yeah.
yeah. That's true. Someone I don't think I don't want to say that he's a troll because he's been very nice, but he's asking a question that I think is going to trigger you, and I kind of want to ask. Ronaldo is from Henk Klopper, and I think he's been on your channel. Um, Ronaldo, when are you hosting Steve Hofmeyer?
That's not triggering at all. Like, listen, tomorrow is Father's Day, and I think that maybe like, you know, Steve needs to know now start paying maintenance, unblock me, and like host, like come on to his son's show. Like, I don't understand what the problem is here. Like, why can't like Papa come on to my show? No, but honestly, I would love to host Steve, but the problem is Steve has blocked me on Twitter. He has made like I've had two people that have hosted him before to ask whether he'll debate me, and he said he's not going to give him the attention that he is craving.
Mm.
And the irony out of all of this is I'm not asking to be on his platform. I'm not even asking him to promote it. Like, because I think that most of his followers won't like me and wouldn't want to like listen to anything that I have to say. So I'm not looking for attention. I'm not looking to build my subscriber base because I've learned the hard way that there's some subscribers that you want and some that you
Yeah.
just don't want.
Yeah, that's
And
very true.
the long answer is I would love to host Steve Hofmeyer, but Steve is not interested in hosting or being on my show.
Mm.
So that is the answer. And no, it's not triggering. It's like it's a long-standing joke because Steve Hofmeyer toured in the little town that I was born exactly 9 months before I was born,
Yeah.
believe it or not. So if people think that, like, I mean, it's a joke, but, you know, is it also really, like, I don't know. Like, we don't know.
Oh yeah, Willem van der Veld. I did give you a shout out, but he's asking for a shout out again. So he says that he saw Steve Hofmeyer was on Germ's channel, which I also saw, and I immediately thought of you, and I'm like, I wonder what Ronaldo thinks of that.
Yeah, I couldn't give two shits because I, I would love to host him, but if I never ever host him,
So
fuck,
be it.
it's one of those things. It's
Yeah,
like it is what it is. Like
yeah,
I know that we will disagree and we will probably like insult one another, and that's fine. But don't say that you're open to debate and
mm,
then you refuse to debate anybody that opposes anything. Because
mm,
I think the one thing that I'm really proud of is I'm willing to host anybody,
yes.
even Saitlanders, even Simon Roach, even the BLF, anybody from the BLM. I'm willing to host anybody.
Bianca.
But what you find is that nobody on the far left usually would like to come onto my show. When I say this, nobody that actually holds a senior position. So I had Bianca van Wyk on last
Yep.
week, and she didn't rock up to the show. I'm sorry to say she didn't, in my humble opinion. But the next day she was very vocal on Twitter
Yeah,
again,
she was.
as if the day before just didn't happen. But I know realistically I won't get somebody like Floyd Shivambu or
Mm,
Ndlozi or Julius Malema or one of the senior leaders of Black Lives Matter on my show, because this is another argument, or not an argument, a discussion that we can have about left and right. I've found that as much as I oppose many people on the far right, they are far more willing to debate than the
mm.
people on the far left, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, that's very true. I think I don't know. Maybe the right is a little bit more open-minded in that sense because I think it takes a bit of open-mindedness to be willing to debate someone. And just because you debate someone, and I think this is where the lefties get it wrong. Like they think a debate means you want to change their argument or something like that. That's the feeling I get every time you want to ask someone to come onto your show. You're not trying to change minds. You're just trying to say, I want to understand you. I want to understand the way you think because
Mm.
that will maybe if I understand the way you think, you understand the way I think, maybe we can live on some kind of like compromise instead of always
Mm.
being at each other's throats, you know. And
You know what it is, though? Sorry, you can finish your thought.
and the thing with Bianca, right? Like she, for me, she lost me when she refused to talk about the government. You can't have a debate about government and not being willing to talk about government. That
Yeah,
yeah.
it was like we're talking about the president's speech, but somehow it's not linked to the government. And the thing is, here's the thing, right? If this was Ronaldo from like 10 years ago, it would turn into a shouting match, and it would have been insulting, saying like, "Listen, are you using your fucking brain?"
Mm,
But the thing is, it's also that shuts people down in the sense that then it's just going to be like this whole victim mentality that I bullied her
mm,
and this and that. So like I keep it respectful, and people get frustrated with it, and I understand why they do, but you have to understand that you catch more flies with honey.
mm.
So that is, and it's not a trick. I literally am interested in the
Yeah.
discussion, but what I wanted to say is that I spoke to a friend. Like, look, I've got a friend that was considerably far left, and he's moved closer and closer to the center. And he told me one day, he said, Ronaldo, the reason that people on the far left and the moderate left don't want to come onto your show is talk about what their beliefs are, but they are scared of being branded by their colleagues or their people that believe what they do, that they are giving you a platform.
Mm,
And then that is what he said. He said that they are open to discuss ideas, but they are too scared that they'll be pushed aside by their very own people that think like them, because it's like, they're giving you airtime.
mm,
And the last thing, anybody that like, to anybody to the moderate and far left, I am a racist in their minds. And
mm,
anybody that speaks out against government or assume that a black person could be a racist, that is considered racist in itself.
mm.
And they are so shit scared of wanting to go, oh, I'm going to go on a racist show, because then the people go, oh, how can you do that? How
Yes.
dare you do that? So
Yes.
it's like this kind of weird incest vibe going on there, with all due respect.
No, but it's true, man. Like, you get one. I mean, my story now. I mean, Mikhail just brought it up. Mikhail Kanaka is a fellow comedian. thanks, Mikhail, for tuning in. He asks a question to you. Why don't you host Nikki on your show? And you know the Nikki I'm talking about.
That's the joke of the evening. That well done. That's hilarious.
And you're right, man. Like, I've recently been accused of being a racist and a homophobe because of my political views. It's that association. So, I do expect that people might see you on my channel and be like, oh, why is Joe talking to Renaldo Gouws? The social justice warriors will immediately jump to that conclusion, like, see, Joe's a racist because he had Ronaldo on his channel. And it's like, well, dude, like, to me, you're one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Like, when I first got into this YouTube sphere of things, I was watching you. And then from you, I found about Ramon, and I found out about Germ. And
Mm.
then I just kept on watching you and watching you and watching you. I liked your political views. I liked how honest you were with some of the stuff. Because when I say that, I don't mean that you lie. I mean that, like, there's only a certain amount of things you can say about the DA. You're not allowed to say certain, like we spoke off air about. And that's fine. I understand that you're in politics. That you can't just say, like, oh, well, the DA stands on this because you're not the spokesperson. So,
Yeah.
um, you inspired me to actually do this. People don't know this, but Ronaldo is the guy that inspired me to do this channel.
Well,
When the
that's a
lockdown,
clusterfuck. No, I'm joking.
when the lockdown happened, I was like, crap, comedy's done. The lockdown, when the president said, like, there's a state of not disaster but emergency or whatever, the week before
Yeah.
he actually locked it down, like, all my gigs were done. There was nothing.
Mm.
So then for that week I was watching you as well, and I was like, you know what, maybe I should try this online thing, YouTube thing, because Ronaldo can do it, there's other guys that are doing it, you all seem cool. And yeah, like, I've never seen anything racist about what you do or what you say. And I feel like that's what some human beings have forgotten about. Like, we've lost the ability to get to know people on a human level because of
Mm.
social media. I think social media is largely to blame for this.
It is social media. It
Yeah.
is.
We've lost that human connection to really get to know someone, because you are a far more complex person than what you put out on your Twitter or your social media or whatever the case may be. And anybody who watches your channel will probably see that. But of course, you have the people that will die saying that you are all those evil things.
Yeah, and the thing is that I don't know, like, I know that I put myself out there. I know that I'm an instigator. I know that I'm not proclaiming to be an angel. I know that. But the one thing I'm definitely not is a racist. The reason I say that is because I fight racism.
Yeah.
Um, and you see what a lot, and here's the thing. I mean, I don't want to be ageist, but what I've seen is that many of the individuals that are so vehemently against other people's opinions are either really, really young
Mm.
or really, really old. One of the two.
Yeah, that's true.
And what you'll find is that because, like, I mean, because I've gone sort of full circle. I made a video that I like, some of the views I still believe in to this day, which is like, let's deal with it, right? So the most obvious one that I get thrown my way is, you don't understand black pain, you don't understand your privilege, right? And I'm like, dude, I made a video in 2016, 2017 in which I acknowledge my privilege. I said that for Renaldo Gouws, I benefited because my parents had a hand-me-down car. My dad had, like, paid my first year of university.
Yeah.
My school fees were paid for. So there are various things that I, as one white person, can acknowledge, and I've acknowledged that, right? But as soon as you start weaponizing it, then you
Mm.
lose me, and as soon as you start stereotyping all white people,
Yeah.
then you lose me.
Yeah.
So the problem is that these individuals, and they are acting racist in a way, because they are assuming that every single white person or every single colored person or every single black person is one specific thing,
Yeah.
when they are not. One example, would you proclaim Cyril Ramaphosa as a poor individual? No, you would not, right? Would you consider his extended family poor? No, you would not. Would you consider people associated with him poor? So that's about 100 black individuals there that can't be considered poor black individuals, right? Now, if I gave you names of 100 white individuals, would you believe me? Like, poor white individuals.
Mm.
So all I'm trying to say is that I have gone full circle in the sense that I believe that broad-based black economic empowerment was the right thing to do. I believe that affirmative action was the right thing to do. And after seeing the complete bullshit by the government and, people that are fronting, I've gone full circle. But my point that I'm making is that the people on the moderate to far left refuse to go full circle and challenge their own beliefs, because my opinions have changed, and I see that as something that is a step in the right direction. Because if you hold the same beliefs for 15 or 20 years, then there's something wrong. You need to consistently challenge your beliefs and challenge what you
Yes.
think is right or not. And if you don't open yourself up to a debate and having the hard discussions, then you'll never be able to do that. And that is why these echo chambers are so toxic.
Yes.
And that is why, like this week, I just popped back into Instagram. I'm not active on Instagram at all. I post like maybe one cute picture of my dog or something like once a month. I went back on there to go and defend a friend that was accused of racism and they wanted to cancel him. So I jumped back in there just to go and defend him with the little following that I have on Instagram. And then I soon became like the target of those individuals, which was mostly 19, 20, 21-year-old individuals that self-flagellate at night because, they are white individuals. All of them, or majority of them, had like BLM hashtags in their bios. And none of them actually have anything that they've done to assist the people that they are trying to speak on behalf of, other than tagging an email address that people can go and complain or what's happening in the United States. So the problem is, and then those were the first individuals that says, "Oh, you are so toxic. What have you done? You haven't acknowledged your privilege." And I'm sitting here going, dude, I've probably done more in assisting people in the townships and assisting people on the streets than what you have by virtual signaling right here. But then the problem is, it's that group mentality, and then it's just everybody attacks. But yeah, unfortunately, it seems that the toxicity of Twitter is spreading onto Instagram and other social media platforms as well.
Yep, spreading onto YouTube as well.
Oh, dude, it's been here forever.
Toxic, that word. They like that word, toxic. I was also accused of being toxic a few moments ago.
But listen, no, I want to get back to this thing now. So you obviously have this situation that you found yourself in as well. And the one thing that I don't get, right? The one thing out of that tweet that I don't get is that she referred to you as, she said something like a piece of shit Egyptian, right? Now, can somebody balance me here, right? She's talking about
balance you.
racism. Yeah,
A bit of Afrikaans coming out.
I'm using, balancing. Can somebody balancing me here? The thing is that she says that you are a racist Trump supporter, and like, I don't know what else
a racist, homophobe Trump supporter.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Get it right.
But yeah, sorry. I apologize. But she like firstly brings in like a specific geographical area and uses that as an insult towards you.
Yeah.
Does she not understand the how that in itself is racist? Like, she really doesn't get it. Like, let me give you thing with the same type of individual here. In one of the comments on Instagram in which I defended this person, some guy made a comment in which he said, go and support your bum chum, right? Now, bum chum is a derogatory term to refer to a homosexual person, right? Here's the irony. One person that eventually came out and said that he is gay liked that person's response to me. Then I called out that person saying, how can you support this person for accusing me of racism when this person in its comment itself has made a homophobic slur? His response was, well, I didn't find it homophobic. And do you have a problem with gay people? I shit you not.
What?
I shit you not. So me standing up for me standing up for homosexual people, gay people, by saying that what this guy said is wrong, manages to get turned into do I have a problem with gay people because I took this person on for that? Like, you see, this is the type of individuals that we are dealing with. Your situation is you get accused of being a racist homophobe, and yet that person acts in a racist manner.
Yep.
I get labeled as a homophobe racist as well for defending gay people. Like, this is the type of individuals that we are dealing with here.
It reminds
You
me
understand?
of, I don't know if you saw that tweet on Twitter about you must have seen it, man. Someone tweeted this thing where this girl is saying there's a picture of breasts, and she's saying we need to stop sexualizing breasts. And it says a little bit more, but that's the message. We need to stop
Yeah.
sexualizing breasts. We need to stop looking at them as sexual objects or whatever, right? But then if you click on that profile, she's a columnist for Playboy.
Oh, well, that's nice. Yeah, that sums it up. Because everybody reads Playboy for the amazing articles. Like, yeah, no,
I
definitely.
mean,
Ah, dude, it's crazy.
wow. This
It's
is
crazy.
this is the kind of thing, like, I just don't understand it. And here's the thing, I'm gonna be honest now. I used to think that I was on the left side. I don't know. I wouldn't say that I was like far left, but I thought I was like, because I still believe in like freedom of choice and
Yeah.
pro-choice and all that stuff, and some of the other stuff that they thought, and I thought everybody was like me, like, oh, but we're still a bit. I thought those crazy lefties were just crazy people. Then
Yeah.
they told me like, no, 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 that's like lefty people, but they're like far left. And then I'm like, yeah, but I thought I was a bit far left. And then like, nah, you're more like center right ish kind of guy. And I'm like, what? No,
Mm.
I don't like rights. Those guys are racist. And then I started to open my mind a little bit, especially obviously after watching your channel. That's when my mind started to be open and seeing how the media shapes things. And I really now started to research, and I started to ask questions, and I started to like, because I used to be like that in Egypt. And then when I came to South Africa, I was like, I don't want to deal with politics anymore. I want a new life. I want a fresh life. I don't care. Do
Yeah,
comedy.
you come to South Africa, you don't want to be involved in politics.
Yeah, and
You
then
came to the wrong country, dude.
and then
Like,
lockdown happened, and well, actually, what started it all was actually the load shedding, because I started to get really pissed off with Escom and stuff like that, and then I started to dig and find out things, and then like I said, discover your channel and really see how a lot of this stuff. It's amazing, man. Like when I look at myself 3, 4, 5 years ago, I really had blinkers on, like I was just ignoring stuff, only looking at certain things. I read a headline, I don't ask questions, I just take it for what it is. And that's what a lot of people, unfortunately, in South Africa are doing, and they don't even realize. And I
yeah.
feel like the really far left start stuff, and then the people that have blinkers on think that that's how everything should be for whatever reason, and then they just kind of sheepishly follow in that, like,
Mm.
they kind of support it because, oh, that's the right thing to do. When,
But you see,
yeah.
the reason for that is because South Africa has got such a terrible past with regards to apartheid, right? So the ANC has got the perfect,
Hmm.
like, mixture of things that they can just go and still play the victim even after 26 years of absolute failure.
But I feel that
So,
there's. Sorry, I'm going to stop you there because I feel there's a monkey wrench in that whole theory that people have
yeah.
forgotten about. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You would know more about this than I would. But Thabo Mbeki, when he
Mm.
was president, I saw a graph that in 1990 the unemployment rate was like super high. In his presidency, the unemployment rate went dipped tremendously. The economy was like looked good
Mm.
from what I can tell. And then when Zuma took
Yeah.
over, it went back up. So this whole idea of the apartheid legacy and we're in this condition because of apartheid and all that stuff, I
Mm.
feel like that little dip kind of debunks that theory. I mean, that's my opinion.
But there's so many better examples, and yet people still also don't look at that.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, it's a perfect example, but the problem is now you have to try and convey that message. And the easy look, this is the key strategies with the ANC in order to scare people into not voting for opposition parties, right? The first one is they're going to bring back apartheid.
Mm.
That's the easiest thing to
Yeah.
use with a rural voter that doesn't have access to
True.
whatever the opposition is selling, right? And that'll scare people into voting for the ANC.
Yeah.
The second thing is they're going to come take your grant money away, right? Which means that child, what's it now? The fund for young mothers and young fathers, right? The social grant system, all of that, they scare people into saying that if opposition party is going to come into power, then you're not going to get your 3 or 4 or 5,000 rand from the government anymore because, hey, we're not going to be here. And that is something that no opposition party has ever said that they're going to do. But it's that type. It's that easy to convince people to not try something else. And then added to all of this, right? If the majority of people in this country could have been far better off, right? But you also have to understand that these individuals are comparing their lives today with what they had during apartheid. And there's no two ways. The majority of people are better off now than what they were during apartheid, with having electricity, most of them having electricity, running water, a really shitty built house, but a house nonetheless that isn't made from what you call it. Nah, the name escapes me, but like dakplate is the Afrikaans term.
Okay.
So things are a lot better for those individuals, even though, let's say, these individuals could today have had far more, but they're not aware that they could have had it because they're just comparing what they have now and they are happy with it, which makes me sad because it's like people are so content with having so little that they don't know that things could be better. So unfortunately, bringing it back to the discussion is that the ANC's got the perfect like scapegoat to blame consistently because, and this is something that blows my mind because I consider any time after us having access to the internet as a modern era, right? Which means that you can instantly send a message, you can instantly communicate. So yes, apartheid might have been close to a half a century, right? But 26 years in the modern era where you can build a house in a week or a week and a half compared to building a house in 3 or 4 weeks in the 80s or the 70s tells me that we should be a lot further than we are. And also added to that, that 26 years in the modern era is worth far more than 45 or 50 years under apartheid.
Well, I don't know. Like, obviously, South Africa and its demographics and everything that's involved economically and what has happened to our society, South African society, from 1994 till now is very complex, extremely complex. I think that any president worth his salt that takes over from, like, I'm talking about like a genuine good guy president, if there is one, that takes over is going to have a hell of a challenge on his hands to fix what has happened. But what I will say is, and this is my opinion, and I had a discussion with a fellow YouTuber, Quentin, not YouTuber, sorry, fellow friend, he's a psychiatrist, Quentin Ferreira, and he has an article about the eternal apartheid. And one thing that we were discussing in one of our videos is the idea that people here are so scared, for whatever reason, white monopoly capital is usually the main reason, to have a free market. But then he pointed out something very interesting. He's like, you know that a free market has never been tried in South Africa, ever. And I was like, that's actually a very good point. So why are we scared of it? You know? And of course, it's because the ANC does what they do best with the white monopoly capital and it's apartheid and blah, blah, blah. Blame this, blame that, blame the white man. This is why it is. BEE needs to stay. Meanwhile, BEE is sorry to say, it's the reverse of apartheid, in my opinion.
How dare you say that, dude? How dare you? You just triggered like 1,000 like lefties like with that.
Please.
And that was my argument for the last week on Twitter has been my argument in which I'm saying that, and you know, this is basically how easy it is, right? Is the government currently discriminating against people based on the color of their skin?
Absolutely.
Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. That's how simple it is for you and me to understand what discrimination is, right? But now all the technicalities come in. Now it's like, okay, but you know, is it for redress? And then added to that, is it fair discrimination? fuck knows what fair discrimination is? Like I'm waiting for the day in which somebody tells me, "Oh no, it was a fair rape," or it
Oh,
was a fair murder, because the reason it's a fair murder is because it's a redress of somebody else's family member killing somebody else. So this is redress in fixing and balancing the scale. That is how slippery the slope is,
yeah.
because you can't discrimination, and this is a problem. People don't look at the dictionary,
Mm.
because apparently the dictionary is also now a colonial thing that people have added words to it, and you need to decolonize education. You need to decolonize what the meaning of a word is. So how can you ever win an argument if the two people that are having a discussion can't even agree on the definition of something?
Exactly.
Discrimination is based on the fact that you are taking something away from somebody that's outside of their control, whether it be race, gender, or whatever.
Mm.
That is how simple discrimination, the definition of it is. But yet, having that discussion with somebody on the moderate to far left is impossible,
Mm.
because they'll say, no, it stems much further than that. And the same with the term racist. Apparently, superiority has now also been included in the term racism or racist, because you have to be superior in order to enforce racism on somebody else.
Okay. But it's just like with your debate with Bianca, like she kept on. It was like so. It was amazing in a one way to watch this mental gymnastics, as BDL likes to call it, where you say yeah, but it's and I love the fact that you started that debate with defining racism and agreeing on it, and then you go the rest of the debate saying okay, cool, well, discrimination, do you agree, blah blah, and then she says something like yeah, but that's not that's what's it, rational discrimination or I don't know, national racism, or I don't know. She's like, no, no, no,
Yeah.
that's not discrimination. That's this, and no, 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 that's not racist. That's this, but they all mean or come from the same word. So
Yeah.
you can try and define certain things or certain aspects all you want, but it all leads to the same peak in a sense. So
Exactly.
if it falls under the same umbrella, then why are we having this discussion anyway? It doesn't. We could talk about this
No, this
forever.
can turn into like a 10-hour marathon of trying to, and to to get back to the point. Yeah, the irony out of all of this is I still consider myself a centrist leaning towards the left,
Mm,
because I believe in a safety net for the poorest of the poor. So I
yeah.
believe in social grants. I believe in some form of, and bear with me now. I think that there are some amazing concepts within communism and socialism that being worked in with a free market system. So a combination of
Yes.
both could work fantastically well,
Mm,
because you need to provide for the poorest of the poor, the people that fall through that safety net. You need to
mm,
provide for them. And that is why I consider myself somebody that's centrist leaning towards the left. But imagine, to a moderate left person, stating that broad-based black economic empowerment is discrimination, and that the government is should stop blaming apartheid and should start taking responsibility. Then to those individuals that are just to the left of you, consider you far right, and that is problematic.
yeah, that
I
is.
mean, I mean that I mean this. I've
It's
been,
true.
and you've been accused of being far right. And if I'm far right for believing in a safety net, and actually looking at some aspects of communism and socialism, going, well, that's not too bad if it has some measures in place.
Yes.
Imagine then what somebody that actually is far right, who's far right. Imagine like how far right they are actually are.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like, I took that Google Compass thing, that Google political compass thing. Apparently, I'm like center. I'm like center, slightly authoritarian. Apparently, I need to retake it. But
Well, you're gonna
so
have to, because like depending on my mood, I also shift either just between left or just between right.
yeah,
So it
on your
depending on
mood,
how I interpret the question, yeah.
if you've had a
Like the
good
one
day or
time I
not.
actually took it, yeah, yeah, yeah. So like I think it was a couple of months ago, I just did it for shits and giggles on a live stream, and then I was center right. And I was like, oh, there we go. Now I'm far right, everybody. And I'm literally on the line, but just like that circle is just to the right. And it's like, oh no, Ronaldo's far right now. Now it's over. It's game over, guys.
Oh man, that thing is funny. I must do it again. I think I'll also do it on a live stream. That might be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, very quickly, Yanni Vandervolt has a question. Why is race of concern when you fill out an home loan application? Why is race important? Will I be more or less likely to be approved based on my race or income?
You would be, yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, the government used to hide behind the fact that it's actually just for research purposes to see how effective they are in redressing the issues of the past. But in actual fact, yeah, I mean, the banks have come out. Like, here's a perfect example. Um, a white person cannot buy specific shares in some shareholdings. And they also can't, you as a white person can't open an engine garage anymore, a shell garage. That's why, have you noticed, you see a lot of these express, um, like petrol stations popping up,
Mm.
and these randomly named petrol stations. It's because it's white individuals that are finding a way to buy petrol stations, because a white person can't buy an engine petrol station
Mm.
or these things. And I mean, come on, guys, that is it's such bullshit that if you are an entrepreneur and you would like to get a petrol station in your town, then you won't be able to get it because of the color of your skin. How the fuck is that not racism? How is that not racism?
Because blacks can't be racist, Ronaldo. You should know that.
Well, that's why I asked that, but that's why I asked that question to Bianca, because it's an actual legitimate,
Yep,
it's a legitimate discussion point.
exactly.
It's the world has gone so mad that you have to ask a person before you debate them whether they believe that another human being with their own thoughts, beliefs, and sort of stereotypes can be racist or not.
Mm.
And there are many people that believe that a black individual cannot be racist. And how insulting is that?
Yeah,
How
exactly.
insulting is it that you can't classify somebody with their own thoughts, opinions, and beliefs because of the color of their skin can't be racist?
It's
That
it,
that is scary.
I feel like we've forgotten what happened in World War II. You know, Hitler would go around and say that we are the Aryan race and we are superior and we are perfect and condemn the Jews and all that stuff. You know, like it's very similar. It's not exactly the same wording, but it's very,
Mm.
very, very similar. And we seem to have just forgotten about those days. Like we shouldn't be worried that we're inadvertently yes, I think a lot of people get caught up in wronging or basically trying to right the wrongs of the past, and I can agree with that. Of course, right the wrongs of the past, learn from history, learn from it. Don't make it a weapon. Learn from it. If someone really was, taken out of their homes and thrown somewhere, and then they need to get that land back. I agree with that 100%. But to now forcefully take land from other people and use the mask of like, yeah, but this is because of what you did in your past, even though this person wasn't born at that time.
Mm.
How is that fair? how
Oh,
how
but
how is
it's their
that fair?
privilege. It's their privilege. Like it's like what Pierre de Force said. Pierre de Force said that inheritance tax
Oh
needs to
my word.
become a thing. So Uh, oh, dude, I shouldn't forget this train of thought now, because I wanted to say something. Dude, okay, I forgot it now because Pierre de Force just popped into my head and now I've gone completely
Sorry.
blank. No, no, it's because Pierre de Force makes people go blank. So it was with, oh yes, yes, this was the discussion. So just to quickly jump back to broad-based black economic empowerment, right? And you're talking about righting the wrongs of the past, right? Firstly, we know that broad-based black economic empowerment has not succeeded. In 26 years, it's made a handful of people billionaires and
Mm.
everybody else is still as poor, right? So now you come up with a concept and you say, I am left, I can see the need for redress, and that's fine, right? So why don't we implement a broad-based economic empowerment system that is not based on race, but based on your financial standing, right?
Mm.
The first question I've got is, who's the overwhelming majority of race that will benefit from that? It'll be black individuals,
Mm.
right? But this aspect then doesn't let white people that are born poor fall through the cracks. But yet, this is like an impossible thing for the moderate and far left to even fathom, because by leaving race out of it, you are admitting that there are actually poor white people in this country.
Mm.
And that is, and they failed because then if you allow that to just simmer a little bit, then the whole premise of privilege for every single white person in this country falls away as well. And listen, dude, I've made it quite clear. I know that I've been born a white individual. I'm not loyal to white people because I'm born white. I'm not loyal to Afrikanerdom because I am an Afrikaner, because those aren't things that I had any control over, you know? So I'm not sitting here defending and fighting for the Afrikaner or fighting for a white person because I am that color. I'm fighting for what I believe is injustice, or
Yeah.
I'm rather fighting against injustice
Yeah.
because of the fact that it's wrong. That's
Yes.
it.
Yes.
And the one thing that I always say, and this always gets a very good reaction out of people, is if Helen Ziller, an individual that fought her entire life against an oppressive regime in apartheid and then an oppressive regime as the ANC, if she can be labeled a racist like that, what hope is there for any other white South African in this country to never ever be called a racist? If somebody like Helen Ziller that dedicated her life and risked her and her family's life in fighting the apartheid system and fighting against what was wrong can be classified as a racist like that, there's no hope. There's no hope whatsoever.
Is that why you won't run for president?
I'm not even like, dude. I know that I will never ever be qualified enough to be the president, even though I know that we've got Jacob Zuma and we've got all of that. I mean, anybody can be a president. Whether or not you're a good president is what is important here. I know that I will not be a good president because I don't have that capability in order to be a good president. So I'm not interested in becoming a president.
Mm.
The highest ambition that I will probably have is to one day eventually maybe become a member of parliament.
Yeah.
That is like the biggest ambition I have. And the reason for that is because you can actually influence policy that can change the lives of millions of people.
Mm.
And that's the only reason why I'm interested in that.
Mm.
Because trust me, it's not about the money. Even though I am earning a salary, and I will be honest, my salary at the moment is I think it's 38,000 rand that I earn a month because
Before or after tax?
no, that's it's 35,000 after tax.
Okay.
So I think it's about 40,000 rand. Um, but as an industrial psychologist, I was earning close to double than that
Wow.
because I was, and I mean, if I was still doing it full time now with the exchange rate, it would be a lot more.
Wow.
So even though, yes, I'm earning a salary and of course it is paying the bills, it's not about the money for me. It's about being the change that I want to see in this country.
Yeah.
Because to be real, I mean, we have 60 murders a day in this country.
Yeah.
We've got hundreds of thousands of house break-ins. We've got hundreds of thousands of um, intent to do grievous bodily harm crimes in this country. And the thing is, if I didn't have hope in the future of South Africa, why would I be here if I can literally be in Montreal at the moment, living in a house where I don't have to have electric fencing or barbed wire or live in a complex with a security guard in order to feel safe?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I noticed that we're almost up to the hour. Do you mind staying a little bit more? Because I really want to talk about DA or what you do for the DA. But if you have to go, we can always reschedule.
No, dude, it's fine. I mean, you've already paid for the hour, so it's all good. I'm joking. You didn't pay me anything.
um, but touching on some of that stuff that you were talking about now, you reminded me, when you were talking about the crime stats and all that stuff. There's a comedian that I interviewed 2 nights ago, Arlene Peterson. I would really like it if you could maybe get her on your channel because she was telling me that there's the cigarette ban is causing a lot more problems than people know, and obviously the media is not covering it. But in the past week, a 3-year-old died because there was gang shooting and it was related to
Mm.
cigarettes. So I think having her on your channel, I'm trying to get her on everyone's channel to talk about this story because the media is ignoring it. They won't talk about it. And I feel that that is
Send
just
her my number, dude. Let her get in touch with me. I'll gladly host her.
cool. And okay, so there's one thing that I really wanted to talk to you about
Hmm.
tonight, and a lot of people don't understand this because you get people who say things like, "Oh, Ronaldo, my thing is broken in our town, or the electricity's down, or the water's not working, or this is not working. Ronaldo, why don't you fix it? Why can't you do?" They seem to think that when you are a ward councillor, you have immense power over the over this over the area that you are in charge of. So, if you don't mind, please explain to people that what powers you have as a ward councillor. How does that work exactly?
Okay, I'll try and be brief. The way that you need to see a counselor is the person that represents your interests on a municipal level. That's the first thing, right? So consider a counselor your spokesperson and your voice to the municipality. Even though a counselor is employed by the municipality, he is your spokesperson. So when it comes to, let's give some examples, right? So let's say there are a lot of cars that are like driving over the speed limit in your ward, and you want to get some speed bumps in your ward, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then what you'll do is you'll write to your councillor and you say, listen, we've got this issue with regards to speeding cars, and they're using our roads to speed past traffic. We need to have some calming measures. Then your councillor would go and fight firstly for a budget for the ward in order to do that, right? So he is representing the public in what the public wants in that ward, or the residents of that ward wants.
Mm.
It doesn't mean it's going to happen, because if, as an example, if it is, let's say it's a DA councillor in a DA municipality, that doesn't mean still that it's going to happen, because remember, when it comes to municipal politics, um, not just because your council is DA and the municipality is DA doesn't mean all of a sudden then, hey, everything DA related is going to now magically work, because that's how the ANC does it, and that is called corruption. You know,
Yeah.
you still have to follow all the procedures, and if there is a just reason to have more speed bumps, at least then what will happen is it'll be more efficient, in my opinion, under a DA government, because there'll be a lot more transparency.
Mm.
So that's one example. Another example would be that there is water, or your refuse isn't being collected on time, or every single time that you've got a complaint, or every week. You write to your councillor and you say, listen, the refuse hasn't been collected. It's a municipal issue. You are the councillor. Can you please sort it out for me? Then the councillor will go and get in touch with the person that is responsible and make sure that it gets collected, or give a reason as to why it hasn't been collected. But yeah, this perception that because I live in this ward and there are a bunch of, like, let's say, water leaks that hasn't been fixed, it doesn't mean that it's not your councillor that's not doing their job. It means that the municipality isn't listening to the councillor.
Mm.
That, or maybe you have a useless councillor that hasn't reported it.
Mm.
But what I'm saying is, if things aren't working in your ward, it isn't always the ward councillor.
Mm.
It could be because maybe the council is not functioning, like in Nelson Mandela Bay,
Mm.
where we don't know who our mayor is, and we don't know what the budget is, and people don't know on how they can attend public meetings to allocate budget to specific wards.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, I know that there's this one Australian that is quite misinformed and quite ignorant, to be honest with you,
I didn't want to
about.
bring him up, but okay.
No, no, I'll bring it up, because apparently Renaldo Gouws is the only councillor in Nelson Mandela Bay, and if Nelson Mandela Bay is in this shit, then it's my fault for some magic reason. But yeah, pretty much. Unfortunately, I know that that person wants to bestow a lot of power to me, and I'm humbled. But unfortunately, if shit doesn't work in Nelson Mandela Bay, it's of the coalition that is currently running Nelson Mandela Bay, which is the African National Congress. So yeah, I hope that explained it. If anybody's got questions, then they can ask. But the best way to describe it is, the councillor is your representative that you elected to represent you as a ward on a municipal level.
Mm.
That is the best way of doing that. And by the way, Ring the bell for the updates.
Nice. Okay, and also just to be clear, because this is also a bit of a myth, just because you are in the DA does not mean that you have policy or power to change, or at least where you are now, in the position that you are now, you don't necessarily have the power to change or influence policies. Am I correct in saying that?
No, well, you see, here's the thing. So the DA has a Congress where the constitution of the Democratic Alliance is discussed. So if you're talking about policy on a municipal level, then no, that power becomes possible if it is an actual DA administration that's running the municipality. If you are talking about party policy, then yes, if I am elected to go to that Congress, then I have a vote in
Okay.
which I can vote. Let's say, for instance, the DA wants to add a clause to its constitution to say that, I don't want to put anything controversial. So let's use something like, let's say the DA would like maybe sign language to become the 12th official language, or it considers sign language a 12th language, right? Then if I am elected to go to that Congress, then I will have one vote out of thousands that
Okay.
can say, yes,
Okay.
I believe that the DA should do this. But that also depends on whether you qualify to go to Congress or not. But you can obviously raise your concern and say that is what I would like to see or what I would like to do. But no, like on average, just throughout like any other period, no, you don't really have any influence over DA policy other than a Congress,
Yeah.
and you don't really have any say over municipal policy unless it's your political party that's actually running the municipality.
And then if someone wants to get involved, like let's say you've inspired someone to say, you know what, I want to get into the DA, I want to become like someone like Renaldo Gouws, or I want to climb the ladder, so to speak. How would that even get started for someone to get involved like that?
Oh, you just get involved in the ward. So here's the thing, right? As a ward councillor, it's a thin line because you are there as a DA councillor, right? So people in my ward specifically, I got 94% of the vote in this by-election, right? So 94% of the people that went and voted for me as the DA candidate for the ward, right? But as soon as I became the ward councillor, I represent everybody in that ward, irrespective. If you come to me in your red beret and you tell me, I am an EFF voter, can you please help me with this issue? Then I will help you because you are a resident of my ward, first and foremost, right? So if you need a proof of address, if you got a water leak that you need some issues to resolve, or you've got some problems, then I represent ANC people, I represent EFF people, and I represent the DA people and everybody in between, even people that didn't vote in whatever. But if people would like to get involved, I always say, look, if you want to get involved specifically with the political party, then you can join it. Let's say if your ward isn't DA, right? Then you can move one level up and you can get involved in the constituency. So a bunch of different wards will have like DA representation that you can form part of. But if your ward councillor is a DA councillor, then you can easily just get involved with the ward councillor and start on a ward base. So you can do like beach cleanups. You can speak to your ward councillor how you can involved with the DA, and how if you're young enough, then you can form part of the youth aspect of it. Also do a lot of different things. But the important thing is just to get involved and start doing and be the change that you want to see in this country, irrespective. Because I mean, I've got a lot of people that support me as the ward councillor, as an example, with the beach cleanup, and those are people that would never ever vote for the DA. But like what I'll do, doing, because when I clean a beach, I'm not cleaning the beach as a DA person. I'm cleaning the beach as the ward councillor, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that is where I'm very hopeful, because you see a lot of people that would never in a million years vote for the party that I represent for whatever misconception they have. but they support me in cleaning the beach and they want to form part of that. So I think it's really important that if you want to get involved just in the community, contact your ward councillor. If you want to get involved behind a political party, then either contact your ward councillor if he is the party that you want to support, or otherwise you can go one step higher and contact the constituency, and get involved in that aspect.
Cool. You answered that very nicely. I think hopefully that inspires some people. There's one more question I got to ask you. Do
Mm.
you have fixed working hours as a counselor? That's from Henk Kopper. Like, is it 8 to 5 daily or something?
The reason I'm laughing is because no, because as I'm sitting here, I'll have to return 3 calls from numbers that I don't know, and I'm pretty sure that it's got to do probably with like a water leak or some issue like an electricity box that's not working. So no, I'll be honest with you, you don't have fixed working hours. A weekend is doesn't mean anything because especially during an election, you are expected to do political party work over a weekend.
Mm.
So no, and you see that is what gets to me as well as when people throw the whole salary thing in your face. I've been a DJ for 12 years, in which I worked from 8 at night until 5 o'clock the next morning, 4 to 5 nights a week, right? There was one space where I didn't see the sun for I think 3 days in a row, right? I've been an industrial psychologist in which I had to formulate and sit through policies and stuff. I've never worked as hard in my life as what I'm working as a ward counselor
Mm.
because if you let's say there's a sewage pipe that bursts at 1 o'clock in the morning and that sewage is going to come into your house if you don't get hold of your ward counselor. I've had calls 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. A weekend means nothing.
Mm.
Yes, I maybe get less phone calls over the weekend because people are more chill. But no, you don't like. I know it's a long answer, but the point that I'm making is no, it's not an 8 to 5. It's not. It's anything but.
Yeah.
You get phone calls as early as 5 o'clock in the morning up until 3 o'clock the next morning.
Wow.
And especially during lockdown, people lose like sight of what is a weekend because every day is like, like a Saturday pretty
Yeah.
much. So I haven't had like a day off other than my birthday in which I decided that I was going to take the day off. I haven't had a day off in 85 days.
Jeez.
So yeah.
Wow, man. Well, thank you. Thank you for all the hard work you do, man. I think, guys, come on, there's 3 more likes and then we'll get to 50. Just for the hard work that Ronaldo puts into what he does, please, let's get some likes in here. And
Yeah,
for those
smash
of
that
you...
dislike. Oh wait, shit. Sorry, I did this wrong. I did this wrong. Sorry.
Oh, please. You've been doing YouTube for how long? That wasn't a mistake. Please, if there's anyone that may not know who Ronaldo is, please go subscribe to his channel. But I have a feeling the majority of people here do know you. But yeah, you see, you're a good guy, man. This is why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because there's a lot of misconceptions about people at this stage. I mean, what I've been going through recently, and that reminds me, like, if anybody wants to know what I'm going through at the moment, you can check out a video, my response to Nikki Arson. It's on my YouTube channel. It's the most recent uploaded video I have, and you can see I explain everything there. Please feel free to share it and let people know this cancel culture needs to stop, and I'm making a stand. I'm making a stand against it, and it's time that people stop getting away with the crap that they're getting away with. So
Can I just
yeah.
jump in? Yeah, I wanted to say that that was a brilliant video.
Oh, thank you.
And the reason that here's the thing. I know that there are many people out there that that they're easy targets to fake outrage, right?
Yeah.
And they how do I put it? Because my friend had this experience during the week. I mean, the vast majority of people don't um, have the lived experience of this. And I was awakened to this fact again this week because my friend contacted me after 6 people tagged him and spoke negatively about him. And I was like, 6 people. Like that's like a normal Monday for Ronaldo before 9 a.m. in the morning, you know? And he was completely like, he was like in a state.
Mm,
And I was like, dude, like, it's not serious. And then eventually over 2 days, it became like 40, which is like probably up until like 1 o'clock in the afternoon for Ronaldo on an average day. But I realized soon that, a lot of people aren't used to this type of attack on them. So when you brought out that video, I was like, yeah, you see, this is what we need more of. We need people to call out the bullshit when it happens. And I'm under no illusion. I know that I'm in a privileged situation in which I actually work for a political party, so it'll be normal for me to receive complaints. But I can understand that if you're a sales rep for fucking Edgar's. Hopefully you're not, but if you are, that you will probably, if Edgar's received one or two complaints that you did something or you are a racist, then you are more at risk of getting fired. But remember, you staying silent means there's another victim
mm,
that fell to this outrage culture.
mm.
And I put that on Twitter yesterday. I
Yeah,
said,
so thank you.
we need to start having this situation where if somebody accuses you of racism or accuses you of being a racist, then that should be treated as severely as people calling you a pedophile or a rapist.
Mm,
And when we get to that point, you'll start seeing that people will completely stop
mm,
with accusing people of racism, or at least so easily accusing people of racism without any evidence. And we need to reach that point. And I can see that your little stalker still hasn't realized, and the penny still hasn't dropped, because I'm also blocked, by the way.
Everyone,
When I
everyone's
saw the
blocked.
name, no, but when I saw the tweet, I typed in her handle, and I've never ever engaged with this person, and I've been blocked by this person, which once again just tells me exactly what I wanted to verify to myself, is that you cannot even have a debate with somebody or even say hello without being blocked because of their perception of you. Because I'm sure like somebody told her, oh, Renaldo Gouws is like so toxic and he's a racist. And she was just like, okay, block him. I don't even
Mm,
care. I don't even want to see what he's about or hear what he's about.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, it's dude, here's again my thing, and I hope you'll let me come on to the show and I'll give an update with what's going
sure, for
on
sure.
in the coming weeks. But for now, you're right, dude. Again, with Arlene Peterson, and I probably had bring it up when you have her on your show. We were talking about cancel culture in our interview, and she admitted flat out she is scared to say the things that she really wants to say, even though it's like small things, even though it's like something like, "Oh, I don't agree with Cyril," for example, right?
Mm,
She's so scared to say even that because of cancel culture, because
mm,
because the moment she has any political view whatsoever, she might lose a gig that maybe a client has with her now that they postponed till everything's over, and yeah, she's scared of losing future work and stuff like that. And I'm like, and we were discussing this. We didn't really go at the time. I didn't tell her much about what was happening with me, but
mm.
when at the time when I was having this interview, we were discussing this how it's a bad. It robs comedians of it's because it's censorship. It's what it is. It's censorship, and you
Mm.
and I were speaking about it when I was on your channel, and I spoke about it with Ramon. How we are being censored, and I had a theory. I had a theory at that time that yeah, I'm pretty sure comedians don't speak out because we're scared of losing jobs, and lo
Mm.
and behold, it happened to me. I make a
Yeah.
few videos, I have a few opinions, and now I got an income taken away from me over false things, over lies, which
Yeah.
is the
And
worst part about it.
dude, you see, that is the worst part. Like, Joe, if you said something stupid, right, then I would, like, if it's racist or hateful, then I'm fully on the, of exposing. I don't think people should go to jail for uttering words, if you know what I mean,
Yeah.
because that's another big perception that I had previously that, through discussing it with Ramon and various different people, they convinced me that no, words that they utter. What it should do is it should tell people to stay the fuck away from that person, or to not support their business, or to not, support them in any way, shape, or form. But the problem that we have is that you can't even speak out against something that is so obvious as the ANC government failing at what they're doing, and then you have to lose that. And you know what is really shameful is companies that bow down to this bullshit. That is what's
It's
shameful.
enabling
And
them.
like, yeah, exactly. And one example of this was what happened during the Rugby World Cup with these false accusations that came out against one of the Springbok players, and then his sponsors saying that we are dropping him without any shred of evidence, because they just didn't want to get wrapped into that whole like sort of cancel culture.
Yeah.
And that is what's shameful. So, I
You know,
mean,
but
I know that you haven't.
you know what makes it worse though, dude, is and Arlene, the same comedian I interviewed, she posted this on the YouTube video, like on the comment section. So anyone who goes to the YouTube video can look in the comment section. You'll see Arlene Peterson, and she gave, like, I kid you not, it brought me to tears because I read that she posted and she said, "Joe, you, when nobody else thought of me, booked me for that event." And the money I got from that lasted me and my family 2 weeks. And I can vouch it
Wow.
wasn't a lot of money, but it was something. And it lasted the
Yeah.
family 2 weeks. What Nikki's done is she's robbed not me, but other comedians, because I was booking those comedians. She's robbed them of extra income at a time and in lockdown when entertainment
Yeah.
is dead. There's not a lot of opportunity for us at the moment. And
Yeah.
that post that she gave, I was like, I knew it. And if it's tough for her, it must be tough for some other guys too. Some guys are sitting pretty, and some guys aren't. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a bit in between. Like, this has hurt me a lot, but I'm trying to find other ways of making an income now. It's not easy, but I'm trying. And I can only imagine what some of these guys are going through. And that comment alone gave me enough to be like, I don't care what these guys say anymore. I don't care what they throw at me. This bullshit needs to stop.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and we need more people that decide. We've already built up like a good momentum of when people are trying to get cancelled, they end up getting a lot more support in return, and that's good and all. So we've reached that point where the signs are obvious when people are trying to cancel people. Then it's called the Streisand effect. The more you try and hide something, the more it comes out. So the more people are trying to cancel you, like as a comedian, you'll probably have a lot more bookings now because of it, because people are gutful and they are sick and tired of this wokeness and this cancel culture that is existing. But like, once again, there are people that fall through the cracks. There are people that get fired, or they get a disciplinary hearing and a warning or a final written warning because of shit that they didn't even honestly do, because of accusations. And I mean, I've also like, it happened to me. Like, when was it? It was 2 days ago. Somebody, like, I'm not going to mention her name because I'll respect her privacy more than what she's respect mine. But she, to 1,000 followers on Instagram, tweeted a story in which he said, go and report Ronaldo to the DA, and let's spam his boss's inbox folders so that we can get rid of him. And she didn't tell them what to say. She didn't tell them what the reason was that she's reporting me. She literally just said, go and spam this email and tell them that Renaldo Gouws is a racist and we want him fired. And all I did was, somebody, like, I had apparently I've got agents and spies everywhere, because I always end up with this information, so that I actually went onto an Instagram and I took a screenshot of it myself, and then being facetious and being me, I posted it on Instagram, and then I said, hi there, bleep. I said, if you would like to know the right way to report me, be sure to send me a DM and I will
Yeah, I saw.
then tell you what the levels are that you need to follow.
You're trolling like
Within
Trump right now. You know that.
within 2 minutes, she made her account private. Within 10 minutes, let me read it. I know that we've gone way over time, but I'm
No, it's
having
fine.
so
Go ahead.
much fun here.
Go
I
ahead.
actually want to read the DM that she sent me. And I'm sorry for assume um, some people.
No, that's all right.
Actually, I don't give a shit, to be honest with you.
I wanna just read here. Chico, a fellow comedian and musician, also in the entertainment business, has also been suffering. Um, he said here, then she must have changed it since then, but she didn't block me or block my business account, only my private one. And he said something about her still posting stuff. Yeah, it isn't. What's it? She's posting it again because she knows Joe's supporters can't see. Yeah. So there you go. Someone asked for an
Yeah, but you
update.
always
That's
get
an
that.
update.
That's an echo chamber.
Yeah,
But it's fine. She's doubling down, which is great because it just makes your case so much better.
I know. Like when.
Anyway,
Sorry, it
but you
boggles my
see,
mind.
this is what happens because this is what happens when people aren't held accountable for so many years because they think that they can literally get away with anything that
Yeah,
they say. And then when she's going to get that lawyer's letter, she's going to treat it like a joke.
yeah,
And then I think the penny will drop when the judge goes guilty, you
yeah.
know, and then she'll go, wait, what just happened, you know, and then it'll be, oh, you have to pay damages now, and then she's like, no, I don't, and you're like, yes, you do, and then like, no, I refuse to, and it's like, but then you will go to jail, and then I think the penny will drop, you know, once it gets to that point, because nobody is held responsible in this country. But anyway,
Yeah,
sorry, the message that I received. And listen very much now because the first message was kind of like you can see it was in panic, and then she probably consulted with her friends. Let me read it. So the first message was definitely sent out in a panic. It said, please kindly take your post down as I have done the same. I do wish to remain professional. Thank you. Well, fuck, you definitely did not remain professional by telling
uh,
people to spam my employer.
exactly.
But then it was like 15 minutes later, and then she obviously consulted with like her echo chamber,
Yeah.
and this is brilliant. She goes, then the new message, your tone scares me. All right. Which obviously now they said, well, you know, if you post something that makes it seems like your life is in danger or you feel unsafe, then you can probably force Instagram to remove the
Yeah.
post or
Victimhood.
something like that.
Yeah.
But then she goes, I would please ask you to take your post down. I see the error in posting any story, so I have removed them all, as you will have seen when requesting to follow me, which I never did. So now she's trying to firstly say that your tone scares me, and secondly, she's trying to make it seem like I'm stalking her,
Mm.
you know? But anyway, so yeah,
Victim. Victim.
I just responded saying, no. Um, unless you put a public apology out, unless you send an email back to my employer and telling them that you laid a false claim against me and try and get a bunch of people to spam their accounts, I'm not removing anything. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm not going to fall for that bullshit. So yeah,
Yeah.
needless
Exactly.
to say, I haven't heard from her again.
Of course not.
So
All
yeah.
right. I think I'm going to cut it here because we've done an hour and a half, and obviously you and I, we want to get some rest and enjoy the remainder of whatever weekend we have left. But I do want to say this, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching Ronaldo and I just talk and have a good time. We discussed a lot. It's what we've chatted twice now, and it's always a pleasure chatting to you, dude. And
Thanks, man.
thank you guys so much. 62 likes. Thank you so much. And yeah, if you enjoyed this content, please subscribe. I'm interviewing a lot of interesting people in the next coming weeks. I interview comedians. I try and do skits from time to time and other things. And yeah, we'll see what the future holds. I'll be here pretty much because I got nothing else to do now. But yeah,
Yeah, it's not like you're employed, you know. Uh,
yeah.
can I tell a joke though? Can you tell me if it's funny or not?
Sure, why not?
Cool. If you play Bless Bridges' song in reverse on a vinyl, you can actually get a potjie course recipe.
Potjie gossip.
Is that funny?
That's a little bit funny, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like if you play like remember the whole thing, if you play like if you play metal in
Yes, yes, yes.
reverse, then you get like
Here,
Satan
yeah.
messages. What play a Bless Bridges,
Yeah.
then you get a potjie course recipe.
Nice. I bet you people are going to actually go and do that now. Um,
Blub, blub, blub. Twee spakkie sout en olie.
yeah, so I've
Uh,
left the link if you guys want to. If some of you don't know the story, please go check it out, share it. Links for social media posts are in the description. So if you want to share it on Facebook, you can. If you want to share it on Twitter, you can. Please, for now, that is the best way you can support what I'm doing. A lot of people have been asking me, dude, about like, oh, why don't you start a GoFundMe or a crowd? And I'm like, no, I won't do it because I don't want now people to say, "Oh, look at Joe, he's now turning this around and trying to make money." Blah blah blah. It's about principle and it's about doing the right thing. So I,
Dude, there's nothing wrong. Even if it was about money, there's nothing wrong with it.
yeah,
I'm
but
sorry, there's
still,
nothing wrong with it.
I know there's. I've been told by a lot of people there's nothing wrong with it, but still, I don't want to. At least for
No, I'm
now.
not saying that's what you're doing. I'm just saying there's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with it. So don't even apologize. Don't even mention that. Because even if that was the sole reason, then fuck it. It's right. It's right. People need to start feeling in with their wallets. That's what needs to happen. If you call somebody a racist, you need to start feeling it in your wallet. And then you're going to see a lot less people doing it.
that's okay.
Simple as that. But
Um,
anyway, that was me raging. I needed to rage a little bit.
that's all
So
right.
yeah.
I love raging Ronaldo, and I love Noster House. You've been on point this this past few weeks. Beth Syme says maybe I should get a zapper.
Yeah, it's not called Zappa, it's called a Ramon. Get a Ramon.
All right. You love that meme that I sent you. I know you do.
That was brilliant, dude. That was hilarious. I love it. I love it.
All right. Ronaldo, stay on the line. But for everybody else, have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And please subscribe. Please like. Stay safe. And I'll catch you at the next one. Cheers.